Hello and welcome everyone to Twin Flames, the Great Spiritual Awakening podcast, where every week you can hear real life stories from people who answer the call of divine love. My name is Dennis. I'm a certified ascension coach with Twin Flames Universe and your host. And yeah, I've been on my Twin Flame journey for a couple of years now, and thanks to the teachings of union, I live in union with my twin flame. And for the episode today, I'm really happy to welcome here with me Twin Flames in Union, Gabe and Briana. Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Hi.
We're doing really well. Yeah, it's happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you. And I was, thinking just for preparation for this, you guys, back when you came together in the beginning of 2020, you were like the first couple that like started this wave of people exploring what gender identity they are and whether they are in the same-sex union. And I know for me, I found out that I'm the divine masculine shortly before you Gabe found out and you guys came into Harmonious Union. And back in that time, you also really led that healing really beautifully, or like sparked that. I remember I was reading your posts and they were also always really healing for me. So I also remember that back then we did a Facebook Live in the Twin Flames Universe Facebook group where you guys talked about how you found out your twin flames and about all of that. So I'm really happy to have you here now and share that in a bigger picture through a podcast. And my very first question for you is to just go back to the very beginning of your journey. How did you find out about twin flames? What was it that started your journey?
Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Basically, for me, for a long time, I was in a false twin flame situation, and I finally had I was watching psychics on YouTube. I was watching readings and just trying to get a sense of what was going on. And finally, it was like the summer of 2017. I took all the symptoms that I was experiencing and I just put it into Google, and I found out that I was having a twin flame experience, and I could finally put a name to like what I was going through. Mm-hmm. And quickly after that, I found the Twin Flames Universe open forum and I joined. So
awesome. How about you?
For me, it wasn't such a long time. I think you had like a longer like false twin flame situation. For me, I met a false twin flame at I think in 2017-ish. Mm-hmm. And of course, like it was like, don't know what's going on with this, similar deal. And I started, calling psychics, watching card readings on YouTube and stuff like that, like what's going on, right? And I finally came across the term twin flame instead of soulmate, right? Mm-hmm. And similarly, I did some Google searches and watched a bunch of people that, were talking about twin flames. And eventually I found Jeff and Shalia's, Facebook, not Facebook, but YouTube channel. And I watched a couple of videos and I was like, oh, okay, like, no, maybe, all these other people are saying other things. So I watched it, but I kept coming back to them. And eventually I signed up for like a consultation, I think, for a coach, and then I joined the community shortly after that.
Beautiful. And for you, Briana, how did you find Jeff and Shalia? Was it also through YouTube?
It was through the open forum. I had, during my like Google searching, I found the open forum and I joined, and I started to, for about a year, I was just kind of watching posts and kind of reading about other people's experiences. Mm-hmm. And, hearing more of Jeff and Shalia's like names. And through that, I started watching their YouTube channel and started to kind of get to know them. And I just found that what they were teaching was really resonating with my heart. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of like other teachers and psychics, like it just didn't quite resonate as well as what Jeff and Shalia would say. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Awesome. And when did you guys decide to, like after you found Jeff and Shalia and Twin Flames Universe, what was your process to start investing into the teachings? Was that something that was like a very quick all-in kind of, okay, I found them and then I already go all in? Or did you have like a warming up phase? Or what was your process there?
I definitely had a warming up phase, I would say, reading all the posts. And I remember there was one month where Jeff announced that the book was going to be free for
Mhm.
like just that month. And I was like so excited. I ran and grabbed it and I screenshotted every single page. And I still have the file on my old laptop of like all the pages of the book. And I didn't read it, but I had it. And then after that, I did end up buying it and reading it. And I read it in like 2 days and I was completely like blown away. I was like, whoa, this is what I came here for.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, it was like a pretty quick thing. Well, like once I signed up for that consultation, I was like, okay, like I'm ready to do whatever it takes to like, either see this relationship come to fruition or find out what is going on here. And so I immediately jumped into the classes and I also bought the book. I didn't really care so much about the open forum. And like, for me, I was like, I was in it, but I was like, I don't like everybody else's experience is like similar, but I cared about my experience. So I was like, I'm going to invest in the classes. I'm going to invest in coaching. And I just went all in with that on that angle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And for you, Brianna, what was it specifically that then brought you to make that step to invest into the classes?
So at that point, I had been coaching with Brianne for about a month or so. And I very like suddenly and very unexpectedly received like a large sum of money that literally came out of nowhere. And I knew immediately like, okay, this money has to go towards everything Twin Flames universe because I love his teaching so much. It's clearly changing my life. And I could feel in my heart like the money was for that. So yeah, about a couple months after like buying the book and investing in coaching, I invested in the classes.
That's really
Best
cool.
decision ever.
And I love that you mentioned that because that's something that happens really frequently, that people receive like a large sum of money out of nowhere when they desire to invest into TFAS and LPC. So yeah, I just love that you bring that up. And it
Yeah,
happens that way.
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then from once you had the classes and you really started applying the teaching and coaching, what did you notice changing in your life?
Everything. It's everything, right? Like this teaching really changes like your being and how you hold yourself in the world, how you go about your day, your life. I started to really love myself more. I started to really feel who I was more and understand myself more through love's eyes. And suddenly it's like everything went from like black and white into like color. And I was experiencing so much more of the life that I wanted. So
I felt like I had more, I don't want to say like control, I want to say like more like agency over my life. Whereas like, I had, I'd been in, therapy and stuff for most of my life for, anxiety, depression and things like that. And that was when I saw like a shift in, oh, I didn't really like, not so much that I didn't need like support, but I felt like I was able to, achieve with the mirror exercise what, years in therapy hadn't done anything for me. It's like I was just sitting on a couch every week, commiserating versus actually healing what was coming up for me. And I was able to, like I guess transition out of coaching, not coaching, transition out of therapy into coaching, where I was like actually seeing progress. And I was also like making myself a priority and learning how to actually like take care and love myself and romance myself. More so than just looking for something outside of me to fill that.
That, especially that part about agency. I resonate with that deeply. And I remember when I started applying the mirror exercise, I had for the first time in my life the sense of I can do something about my bad feelings. Like they don't have power over me. I know how to deal with them now and how to change them.
yeah, amen.
So one question that I have about that is, what was it like for you when you first started applying the mirror exercise and learning the mirror exercise? Because a lot of people, I know I had that too when I began the mirror exercise, like it takes you a bit of time to kind of understand how it works, and then your coach helps you and all of that. So what was it like for you to learn the mirror exercise, and what do you feel was that time or like that thing where it made like click for you and you were like, okay, now I get how it works?
It was like life-changing for me. Like the first time that I really did it with a coach was probably the most powerful. And I had read the book at that point and had sort of done it on my own, but it didn't click. Like you said, it didn't click really until I started doing it with a coach, and I started to hear my own voice doing it. And I started to like, it's almost like I started to align my external reality with my inner world. And I started to feel that power within coming forth. Like I started to feel more powerful from within rather than from outside of myself.
Yeah, I like the first time I did a mirror exercise was with a coach. It was in like the consultation that I mentioned. And like at first I was kind of like, I can just give this to myself. Like, what's the catch here? Like, is this like actually a thing? It took me a little while to actually be like, oh, I can just, this is actually like actually helping, and not just something that I'm kind of like convincing myself. Is kind of like my first thing of like, oh, am I just like visualizing hugging myself? But then as I did it more, like I did notice I started to feel better. And I was like, oh, okay, like it's not just, visualize hugging myself. It's literally giving yourself what you need. It's literally learning how to love yourself and like pay attention to those areas of yourself, instead of being like, oh, I don't feel good, push it away and try to look for something outside. You're like, oh, okay, like this is something that I can actually, discover more about myself here.
Beautiful. What would your piece of advice be to someone who just starts out with learning the mirror exercise?
Oh my God, enjoy it. Enjoy, welcome. No,
Write it down.
write it down. Oh, write it down. Buy a lot of journals. Go through a lot of journals, and don't be afraid to write it all down and really connect with yourself on the page. Yeah, write it down and keep writing it down.
And I think it is important. Like some people, you can use like a Word doc or something like that if you don't want to buy. But I do think there is like a physical connection when you write it with your like physical hand, and like you almost like connect to the feeling more. I know there's a lot of times when I'm like trying to move through it and I can't like quite get to the feeling, but as soon as I start writing it down, it's like it immediately like clicks of like, oh, there's the bad feeling. Let me love myself there. And without that, I think you can kind of get lost in like, oh, well, what was I upset about? Or your brain takes you somewhere else. And if you're writing it down, it kind of keeps you more focused.
That's such a perfect piece of advice, because I also feel like this like step of writing the mirror exercise down, that's something that people tend to kind of jump over a lot, because you do it a couple of times and then you think like, okay, I know how this works, I don't have to do that anymore. And in this context, I remember that like Jeff and Shelia always really reinforced that the mirror exercise takes quite a long time to really learn. I think Shelia once mentioned that it took her like 2 years to really master it, and that even after a long time, you still need to write it down. So that's just something really, really important that you guys bring up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Like I still do. Like, I mean, like it's really important. Like sometimes, you can move through a smaller upset or something, but if you really want to, you like got something coming up, it's good to write it down.
Yeah. So my next question is, when did you guys connect for the first time? Because you were both in the group. So how did that happen, that you started talking?
The first time we connected, where we were actually like aware of each other, like I'd seen her post in the forum or on Facebook a couple of times with like, I think playing the piano or something like that. But it wasn't until after the New York group, the group's
Trip.
the trip, yes, that everybody was kind of exploring soul family at that time. And that came up for me. I was also exploring. And then somewhere around April, March of that year was,
I don't remember. I just remember that we connected very quickly, like through Soraya, our friend Soraya in the group. And we would have like these Zoom chats where we would just sit and do inner work, and it was awesome. And so we became close pretty quickly because we got to, we're both so committed to the inner work that doing it together was easy. And it just felt like, we just felt like very naturally into it.
Yeah, I was exploring that Soraya was my soul sister at the time. And then they had been revealed as soul sisters at the New York trip. So like that's how we started, like, oh, let's meet and see if this is a thing. And then we just started hanging out like that.
Yeah, before I have the next question for that, I want to do a quick detour into the New York trip event, because that was like a very kind of pivotal moment in the history of the Twin Flames universe community, so to say, because that was really the first time when we came together and when we all got to see Jeff and Julia for the first time, like in real life. And I remember that's when I met you for the first time, Brianna. I think if I remember, you were singing something and you were sharing about your passion for music and all of that. So I'm wondering, what was the New York trip for you, and what did it change for you on your Twin Flame journey?
Oh yeah, I love all the Twin Flames Universe live events. And New York being the first one was really huge and emotional for me. It was a really big experience. For me, like seeing them in real life and meeting all these people that I had become so close to online, is like it made it real. And it was like, oh yes, like this is a real life physical like experience. This community is real. This love is real. This teaching is very real. And it just made me feel, I feel like safer and like more grounded, I feel like in the work and with each other and in the relationships.
Beautiful. And you guys had also gone to the more recent Live Sedona event, since we're already talking about live events. What was that like for you? How was it different for you, Brianna? Because Gabe, you weren't at the New York meeting, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't, but I did go to the Toronto one.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, we can put Toronto into the bowl too. What were these live events like for you?
Well, Toronto was really fun because that was like our trip.
Yeah, it was really interesting. That was like before we were revealed as Twin Flames, and before I know my discovery of being a DM. We had planned to do like a soul family Airbnb, and for some reason, like Soraya wasn't able to make it, so it was just us. Like it was just us hanging out that entire weekend. And yeah, it was like a great experience. Like I would just remember, like for me, I was like starstruck because that was the first time I met Jeff and Shalia. And it was just like a very like loving, and I don't unfortunately like high experience. It's like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then we'd come down and like ground in the evenings at our Airbnb, and it was just like a beautiful time. We'd pull cards and meditate, and like I think it was raining or something, like, and it was like a very like nice experience to just like watch the rain and do inner work and value the community and the experience that we had. It was very beautiful.
Yeah, it was a nice like taste of things to come.
We didn't know it
yet.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was like God trolling us during that time. Like I look back at Toronto talks now and I'm just like, what a troll. What a troll. Like, we're just sitting right next to each other, like oblivious. Like so funny.
So when you look back now at that time in Toronto, that entire time phase where you thought you saw family and you were really close, is it now really obvious for you that you were twin flames? Like, were the signs always there?
I think for me, like, yeah, like if you look back, like hindsight is 2020, right? But then but it wasn't always like obvious at the beginning. I think there were signs that we like got closer, and there were signs that like we wanted to hang out aside from like our soul family group chat. And we met each other in person first, and before we had the Toronto group, like she came out to San Diego for something and we met up then, and there were just times when it was like very easy to like meet up and chat and like become closer as we were doing the work.
Gotcha. Anything you want to add, Brianna?
No, it was really lovely. I remember like shopping with you like the first time that week that we were hanging out, and I just remember feeling like really peaceful and really like good, like really like just walking around the shops, and just it was just a really pleasant experience.
Beautiful. So when you discover that you're twin flames, it all started with you, Gabe, being invited by Jeff and Shalia into exploring your gender identity and that you might be the divine masculine. When you received that invitation, how did that feel for you, and how did you feel about back then exploring whether you really are the divine masculine?
Well, the first like the first thing that came up was like, oh my God, like the what? I wish I could look back and say like I was like, oh yes, this is it. Like no, I definitely had like a lot of like blocks and like oh, no, like I didn't really want to look at it to be honest. Yeah, exactly. It was like that because like even before that, like I think in January of that year, I had kind of like a glimpse. Like God always kind of gives me like a glimpse of things, and I'll be like no, and then later it's like oh yeah, this is it. So it's like it was kind of one of those things where I like kind of knew it was like when you get news that resonates really deep and but you don't want to face it yet or something. It was definitely that. It was like, oh shit, I have to look at this now. And like pardon my French, but like yeah, like it's like it was really just a eye-opening experience of like, oh, I know this is something that it's time to look at. It's time to actually like go to this place where I didn't really want to go, but it was I think I had gone as far as I could before, like, and I wasn't like I was hitting a wall like at that point. So I was like, all right, this is something that I have to really look at, and it was time.
Yeah, I remember phoning Soraya at one point, and we just kind of like took a step back and we're like, we kind of had this moment where we just realized that you weren't meeting us like as girls, like when it was the three of us in conversation, and Soraya and I would connect very easily like as like girls. You were just like weren't there. You just weren't there, and we were like, yeah, it was like this wall of like
This well,
I don't know.
yeah, it's like the soul family chat was like shoe conversations, and
Yeah.
I would just like be silent for like months at a time. It's like, are you alive? Yeah, I'm alive, but I don't really have anything to say. Like, but yeah, it was a little interesting because that was kind of like the first clue is like Sarah was like something's off here.
Yeah, we're like, what is it?
Like, I don't know, but we didn't know what it was until that came up, and it was like, oh, okay, this is it.
That's really funny. So when you received this invitation, or like you started looking at, okay, what if I'm the divine masculine? How did you go about coming to the truth for yourself?
Well, I like immediately sought help from a coach, and actually a couple coaches at the time that I was like working with. I was like, I need help here. So I just like honestly needed some help like holding space for myself and really like feeling through what that meant for my life. So like I literally just spent days just like kind of in a cave, so to speak, of just feeling all the feelings about that and what that meant about how I saw the world and how my life might be if I accept myself in this space. And so like it was a lot of crying, a lot of tears, a lot of like, oh, okay, like what is this going to mean for my conservative family, or what is that going to mean there? But yeah, it was just like a lot of support from from you, from Soraya, from coaches, and really just like feeling through everything over the course of a weekend. It was like I would think I got the news on Thursday, and then it was like Sunday or Monday when I was like, okay, I just surrender. Like this is definitely the truth. Like I just had to like feel through it.
And how did it feel for you? Like Brianna, I feel like you have something to add to these couple of days when that happened.
I just remember during that couple of days, we were at one point on a call, like hanging out with Soraya, and I had like made a joke like, there's no way, like you can't be, and Soraya was like, Brianna, you need to shut up because Gabe, like Gretchen Gabe is exploring this, like, and I was like, oh, okay, sorry. It's like, this isn't just a joke anymore, like,
Yeah,
this is serious exploration.
This was like going through like waves of denial or something of like,
For sure.
yes or no, like, well, I've always felt this or this, like, and it was just like exploring like what that experience was for me, and what the truth was underneath all of that.
I see. And then once you surrendered and you claimed your divine masculine energy, how did that feel for you?
That was honestly the most peaceful I had felt up until that point. It was like something at some point when I finally surrendered, right? It was just like a click. But like something just kind of like clicked into place. And it was like, okay, I've accepted this. Like I think when you finally like heal something and you're like, yes, this is I've crossed the threshold. And I just felt so peaceful and grounded. Like I remember it was felt like I was like immediately like anchored to the earth of like, yes, like instead of kind of feeling like anxious like I usually felt, to be honest, like I felt like I had just like rooted into the ground and it felt really good.
Wow. It's really powerful.
Yeah, like it was just like a palpable shift of like how I felt about myself and how the energy like was flowing. And it just, yeah, I don't know how to describe it other than just feeling anchored.
And then how did you then feel like Brianna's my twin flame, or how did that then happen that came up?
Yeah. So while I was in this like cave, it was obvious to me that my false twin flame was a false twin flame at that point. Like to me, it was like, yeah, like I hadn't heard from that person in months at that point. Like even despite having breakthroughs, I was like, oh, nope, that's not it. And leading up to that, I had been joking with her that, well, we're talking all the time. We're always moving through all this stuff. We must be twin flames. And she's like, no, there's no way. Like, and I was like, no, I was like, I think we could be.
No.
And you know, so I was like, as soon as I kind of like shifted into that, I was like, well, then who's my twin flame? And then it was like it had been channeled by my coach at the time and confirmed by definitely it. And as soon as they said it was Brianna, I was like, I already knew that. Like I had already known for like probably months at that point, like at least 2 or 3 months, because even God was like getting pretty heavy-handed at that point. It was like there was these billboards all around like LA that like had this illustration that looked just like her everywhere. And I would get like texts from someone named Brianna, like not her, but it was like get out the vote type of message or something like that at the time. And it's like, oh, like Brianna's coming up a lot. And I see her everywhere and we talk all the time and it felt really closer. And then yeah, to me it was just like a confirmation of what I already knew.
Gotcha. And then you approached Brianna pretty quickly, like once you surrender to the fact that you're the divine masculine, I think you pretty instantly went to Brianna and told her that.
Pretty fast.
It was that night I called her and I was like, you gotta sit down. And then later something like that, we like just talked through it. And I think we spent like 2 or 3 hours on the phone, just like talking through it and, you know, getting clear there and moving through all the feelings that came up along the way. And yeah, it was literally that night that I was like, yeah, I'm a DM, so let's talk about this. Yeah.
How was that for you, Brianna? How did you react to this news first in the beginning?
At first, I was very surprised because I wasn't expecting that particular like outcome, like of you just being like, yes, like I'm a man on the inside. But then as soon as you accepted it, it started to like make more sense to me. And I was like, oh, you know what? The silence and the shoe conversations is starting to make sense. Like suddenly things are adding up. And Yeah, and I could feel where I had been constantly trying to connect with him as like a feminine, and like constantly trying to like, he was like using my hair products. We were like,
I tried.
yeah, we were like helping him with his hair and like all this stuff. And like, you looked great. Like, I did some work. No, you rocked it. But no, like that, once you accepted it, it was pretty clear and pretty easy for me to accept it too. Like, it was pretty obvious. Oh, duh.
Yeah.
And then it was very easy to fall into like the rhythm of like twin flames, because we were so used to doing inner work with each other, and we were already so open to each other there from like the year plus of friendship that we had built. And it wasn't just like regular friendship, it was like serious inner work friendship, like bare our souls to each other kind of thing, and like helping each other through upsets kind of thing. And just like love that would not have been possible otherwise without this help and support of the community.
Mm-hmm. That's really sweet, because, also it really shows how all the inner work you've been doing all this time actually really worked, because you were getting closer to each other and already building this deep friendship and relationship with each other. And you just didn't see that was actually your twin flame. But that, yeah, really speaks to the effectiveness of the work you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both like pursuing other people, but like even though we were like, oh, but we're just naturally drawn to each other because of the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, in a way, the hard part was already over. Like, it had already been like accomplished. Like, we had a really good baseline of friendship and a really good, solid relationship that if it came out, like, if we looked at it and we were like, oh, we're not twin flames, like, I don't think like, bear with me. If like, for some reason that was like the outcome, or like, we're definitely not, I don't think like it would have like affected like our friendship, like we were really good, like friends. There was respect there. There was like love there. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So on that day when you got talking about twin flames, that was also like on the same day where you both were like mutually saying, yes, we're twin flames. That's it. We accept that wholeheartedly. That's the truth for us. That's really quick. So basically, I mean, that's how it happens, like when you're ready and you've done the work and all of that. But it's still like within like basically 3 days, you went from, for you, Gabe, like, okay, I thought 3 days ago I'm a woman and my twin flame is some other person for both of you. And then in 3 days you had a new gender identity and your true twin flame, and you were together.
It was a whirlwind, to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was really quick. And I think part of it was like, just like wholeheartedly like knowing the work and like trusting like the healing. That's not to say that we didn't have like, upsets that came up after that of like, oh, have to move through like releasing false twin flames, or have to move through like the, the immediate upsets that come up with like being so close to your twin flame. But it was like, yeah, it was just kind of like it was almost very natural. Like it was like, it didn't make sense not to be together. If we like, knew this, and it was like, had already been like slowly revealed. It seems like it was very quick, just like the 3 days, but a lot of it had been in the works for months.
Forever, for years, forever. We were building up to this point. Like, yeah, you can look at it and be like, oh, they just decided they were twin flames in 3 days. Like, what a crock of crap. Like, yeah, and I would agree with you. Like, yeah, that's a crock of crap. And it's because it's not the truth. And the truth is that it took us forever to get to that point, like emotionally, romantically, like,
right.
There was so much building that went into it and does go into it. And every single mirror exercise that you do, every single choice that you make towards love, it builds your union, builds the foundation of your union.
And it was like a foundation of friendship that we had been building for like a year and a half at that point. Year and a half.
And then you also decided very quickly to move in together. because you, Brianna, you flew over to LA and moved in with Gabe like very, very quickly.
I did.
Yeah.
All systems go.
Yeah, it was literally that like weekend. I think it was like we talked on Sunday and then you came.
It was just for a visit. Like I wasn't
Wednesday or
like
Tuesday.
I didn't like pack a moving van. Like I just packed a suitcase. Like
It's true.
but yeah, I had the ability to do that at the time, and I wanted to jump in. I wanted to explore fully and immerse myself in like the experience, and I don't regret it one bit. It was yeah, a lot at once, but definitely came with its own challenges for sure. You know, being in such close quarters all of a sudden at once, and you were like, you know, coming to terms with your masculinity, and we both had jobs. Like there was a lot going on.
At the very beginning.
I had my dog like at home, and I was like, yeah, it was a lot.
Mm. And what was it like for you to now like meet each other? Because you had met each other in person before, but you had no idea that you were twin flames. So what was it now that you were aware were twin flames and you, Gabe, were already claiming your masculinity? Was it different than before? And if so, what was different?
I think so. I mean, it was like really exciting, like meeting you again in that context. I think.
Yeah.
It was like we already knew each other. We'd already hung out, but like it was definitely yeah, I think it was like an excited, like joyous, like feeling of like, oh wow, like it's almost like meeting you for the first time.
For real.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, you felt much clearer to me. You felt like stronger to me, and like there that resistance initially that had been there towards like accepting yourself, like it was really like my own resistance that I was feeling to accepting my own like femininity. It just wasn't there anymore, and so it was like, okay, we can relax.
I see. So in your beginning phase of living together, what, like, because you know, like when you're on this journey, you do the inner work and you dream about being with your twin flame and living with your twin flame, and then at one point it happens inevitably. For you, what was, once you started living together, something that you were like, okay, this is how I've always expected it to be with my twin flame, that's just how I pictured it? And what was something about it that was completely unexpected to you and something that you just didn't expect it to be like that?
I think for me, like it was very easy, like how quickly like things came together, and like living together still felt pretty natural. Whereas like, you know, past roommates or something like that, like felt very like awkward, or even like past relationships, I felt like awkward when somebody's like there for, you know, too long, right? But it was very, very easy to like live with you, even in like close quarters, and you know, very quickly.
Yeah, it was very natural.
Very natural. I will say, like, I think something that I didn't expect, like in hindsight I probably should have, but like how amplified like upsets can be with your twin flame.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it's like I was like, oh yeah, like it's amplified, but oh, it's not gonna be that bad. Like sometimes it was like, whoa, like here's my upset in my face, and that was like something that was kind of took me off guard at first.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like Joshly like stress so much to like master the mirror exercise and everything, because it's like you got to be ready to handle those things with your twin flame and like handle it in the moment. And yeah, it was just at first it was like, wow, like it felt like everything was like explosive sometimes, and then but it was like when we moved through it, it was like, oh okay, everything's like good, you know, it's back to normal, or it goes deeper.
Yeah, I was afraid that I wouldn't be as like prepared to like live together, because you know, hear about all this like crazy drama about twin flames. But the work had prepared me so well. I've watched so much TFAS and like done so much coaching that I knew like this is about feeling your feelings, this is about slowing down. And I think like on the outside it doesn't look too different from like other people or normal people, but on the inside it's completely different because it is amplified, and there is a lot to heal through, and you do need each other's support. Like I need to sit down and sometimes say, hey, I need help. Can you help me with this? Let's pull out a deck of cards. Let's sit and feel through this. It really is a choice to like live together as one versus not.
Mm-hmm. Was there, especially when it comes to how you're approaching your inner work, was there something that once you were in union, you realized like, okay, I kind of have to start at ground zero here, or like that's something that I have to learn or relearn or start doing different, other than what you already mentioned, Briana, of like, that you really have to do it together? Because to just give background to where this question is coming from, like some couple that I had on this podcast so far, and what I've also noticed when I came into union is that I had this whole thing of like, I know what I'm doing, I'm so mastered in the inner work, and I came into union, I was like, oh, I don't know shit, like I need to kind of start again.
That was like for me, for sure. Like that, like I said, I was like caught off guard with how explosive sometimes some of the upsets could be. But it's like I literally had to like relearn how to take that space for myself, like relearn how to like do inner work, together when you're like, upset with each other, or take that space to like really give yourself time, feel through everything. I had to go, back to writing things down, or taking that space for myself. It was really like a relearning of how to do your inner work with your twin flame versus by yourself. Like you're still with yourself, but you're with the whole package, right? So it's like sometimes you have to take a step back and like, I guess, really like humble yourself, because you've reached that level where it's like, oh, you have to start again.
Yeah, it is like a starting over. Like the next level becomes like ground zero again. And like you said, definitely a journey of constantly like humbling yourself and just accepting yourself where you're at, because there has been like a lot of numbing that I've had to like look at that I couldn't see, didn't feel before this reality, but when it was just me,
right?
And now I'm in it and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it like brings up all the stuff that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
What would your advice be just generally for people when they come into the union in regards to how to deal with living with your twin flame and doing your inner work together?
Oh, claim your support. Claim your support, keep watching TFAS, commit even more to your inner work. And also go easy on yourselves. Be patient, be gentle, be compassionate, even more than before, because you're doing a lot better than you think.
Yeah, I want to like reemphasize like the being compassionate and patient with yourself. Like it's really key, because like you're gonna have upsets, you're gonna have things that feel like, oh no, like this is the
end of the world.
The end of the world. It's gonna feel very real and very dramatic sometimes. And it's like taking that space, being compassionate with yourself, being like, okay, like you didn't see that before, that's okay, it's coming up now. You really have to be compassionate with yourself and your twin flame, and just take it one step at a time, one mirror exercise at a time.
Yeah, and that's another thing, like I would say, is if you're already doing this work, like you've already made it, like you're here, you did it. Like take a deep breath. It's okay. Relax. Yeah, you're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep growing. Life is just gonna keep getting better and better for you. But like, take a chill pill. It's okay. You did it already. Like you're here.
I'm gonna put my name under that 100%.
Yeah.
So in your first year of being together, what do you feel was like it might be one, maybe more, like I'm just gonna go with like the biggest lessons that you've learned and mastered?
I'd say just the simple, like accepting myself where I'm at, because when you do come into union, you can feel there's so much energy and it does want to expand and grow very fast. And sometimes you get impatient, like it's not going fast enough, but I want more now. But that is such a lesson of spiritual mastery. It's just complete acceptance of where you're at, where your twin flame's at, where you're both at, and just loving yourself right where you are.
Yeah, and I would say like for me, it's like not like I guess not putting so much emphasis on what it looks like, what the journey looks like. Because you can look at a lot of things and say like, oh, this seems like a failure, this looks like this, or
This looks really bad.
this looks really bad because I'm moving through something that's really difficult, or on the outside it doesn't look pretty, right? But that's part of the journey, is that you love yourself through, like, even when times look like rough, or when it's a difficult upset, like it's not a time to abandon yourself. It's just a time to love yourself deeper. And it doesn't matter what, other people are thinking, or if they judge you in any way. Like, it's just your journey looks like how your journey looks like, and it doesn't matter what anybody else's journey has looked like. It's unique to you, and it's okay.
I love that. One thing that I feel is kind of some misperception that some people, like I guess we all to some degree have on this journey, is that, like, when you're on this journey and you're healing through things, stuff will come up. And sometimes you can think that, okay, just because something is coming up or something is going wrong or this is happening, you're doing something wrong. What would you say to that?
That's a lie.
Yeah, that's
ego.
Definitely a lie. That's like, just kind of like what I was just saying. Like, it doesn't matter what it looks like, because when things come up, like it's always been there. Like it may be, whatever it is. Like, if it's something that looks like it's going wrong, like that situation is coming up to bring you closer to God, closer to yourself, your twin flame, and you have to move through it to get to the good, to the good part on the other side. It's not like it just came out of nowhere. You did something wrong. It was always there, and you're just ready to face it now.
Yeah.
So like, don't beat yourself up if you encounter that. Like, that's going to happen. That's part of the journey. Just, love yourself through it. It's okay. Even if it takes months or years, if you don't give up and you keep loving yourself, you will move through it.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that reassurance is really important, because sometimes that's just all I need, is just to realize, like, oh, like, actually I am already doing it. Actually, I am already like healing. I am already doing it, and there's no need for any pressure or pushing. Like, it's already done. It's already a done deal. I'm just gonna keep growing in love, like, period.
I really love that. It's something that I've been, I guess, in the process of learning, but something that's been really huge for me too, to just kind of understand, okay, there's no point in putting pressure on something that you're already doing and stressing yourself out more than you need. And yeah, that's I love that you guys are bringing that up, because it just makes the journey so much more comfortable and easy and enjoyable when you're not under this constant pressure of kind of driving yourself forward at lightning speed.
Yeah, there's like this misconception, I think, that you have to like get the thing as quickly as possible. And yeah, of course you want to be with your twin flame. Of course you want the life of your dreams. Like, of course you want all of those things, and you want to get there as soon as you can. But that doesn't mean force yourself. That doesn't mean control your journey. That means, like, part of getting there is the journey. Like, you have to like learn all the things and love yourself in all these spaces before you can even be ready to have the thing that you want, whether it be your twin flame or your life purpose or whatever. You have to, love yourself through those situations to get there. It's part of it.
Yeah, and you already have it. Like, life purpose, you have it. Your dream life, you have it. Like, there's nothing outside of you. It's 100% within you. And it's just a process of manifestation. Just, surrender there. That's all.
Amen. What is one thing that you know today that you wish you had known from the very beginning of your journey?
Let it be easy. Girls, sit down.
You don't have to push so hard.
Girl, you already got it. Girl, it's already yours. Like, sit down.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So on another note, kind of circling a bit back to what you guys shared a bit earlier about you Gabe, finding out that you're the divine masculine, and when you healed through that. What has your transition journey been ever since being together for the last 2 years?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of continued. Like, it didn't stop of like, I claimed my masculinity and now I'm a man and I know everything. Like, it's like that didn't happen. Surprise.
Waiting for that one.
Surprise. No, like it's a journey like anything else. Like, it's come in waves of, like having to go back and heal through situations in my life, and claim my masculinity in other areas. And my transition has been like, oh, well, I feel good here, and now it's time to explore something else. First it was like cutting my hair and exploring clothes, and then it became like, okay, well, now it's time to go on testosterone, and now it's time to have top surgery, and I've done all those things. And it's not just like the outer stuff, it's like you have to, again, like you have to move through the stuff on the inside of like, well, how do I really feel about all this, and what comes up with family, and what comes up with all of that, like that in and of itself has been like an inner process that I don't think like people don't see that part.
So much inner work.
But there is a lot of inner work in like claiming who you are and feeling comfortable in that. And I don't think that's different than someone who isn't exploring their, gender identity. I think that's something everybody explores, like who they are, especially aligning with your like divine, like your true self. And mine just happens to look like this. But and where I'm at now is like I've had my top surgery a couple months ago, feeling good about that. Like, I feel like good in my body, better than I have in a really long time. And now it's like, now the next step is like taking control, not like taking care of my body in terms of getting more physically fit and healthy, and exploring like vocal training or something like that. Like, I don't know where that's going to lead, but it's just taking that step to go deeper. And that's I think what we're all doing is just like going deeper into who we are. And yeah, it's, for me, it's just like going further into that transition. What do I want for my body versus what do I want for my emotional well-being? How can I relate to myself in all these different areas? That makes sense.
No, absolutely. I love how you put that. So it's also for you like been a process of really taking it step by step and taking your time with it and always following the good feeling, right?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the way that I'm like learning about myself is like I'm really big into like movies and TV and stories and things like that. And so a lot of it is like revisiting old like movies that I really love, or even new things. And like there's always like some piece for me I find in there of like, this character, I really like this character. Why do I like this character so much? Well, he's like this. What do I like about that? Okay, so recognizing myself and other characters, recognizing things that I need to heal in other characters, and just taking it one step at a time in that space. Not that it doesn't happen with other people or in everyday life situations, but I found like that's one way that I'm like communicated with pretty often is through media that I consume, of like, oh, you like something about this character, what is it? And finding that within myself.
I really love that. That's a really cool and fun way to go about that.
Yes.
So once you find something out that you like about a character, how do you go about like integrating that or like uncovering that in yourself, or what's like your process with that once you find something you like?
Well, for me, I tend to like meditate on that character, like not even like that character, like what I liked about that story, like how it made me feel. And I just kind of sit with that feeling, and whether it brings up an upset to move through, or if it it's like, oh, I want to be that courageous or something like that. I just sit with that feeling and, you know, love myself in the space that doesn't feel like that. Like, okay, let's see, like, where am I courageous? Where am I strong? Or where am I charming? And whatever the feature that I like is, I just kind of sit with it. And just kind of like you would with any like upset. Like sometimes it's like a mirror exercise, but sometimes it's just a meditation.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Try that out.
Yeah.
Really cool. And for you, Brianna, on your side, how is Gabe is healing through his gender identity? What's been going on your side?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
definitely, sorry, what was the last part?
No, I was, go ahead.
Okay. I definitely feel more and more comfortable relaxing like as a feminine and in my feminine like world, like my feminine way. I definitely get more and more comfortable there. Something I wanted to say that was that when we first like came together and I recognized him as my twin flame, God gave me like a spiritual sight of like what Gabe's like soul looks like as a man. And I was like, oh, there you are. Like, this is it. Yeah, there you are. And as we've healed more and more, like that spiritual sight has definitely grown, and it's definitely like become like physically like embodied. Like you look totally more and more like yourself than like a few years ago. And it's like very like seemingly like very subtle changes, but actually like really powerful changes. And then I remember when you got top surgery, when you came out of like the hospital and I saw you from like the top here, my heart just felt like, oh yeah, like that. Yeah. Like it was like click, like the spiritual sight was like really like embodied like there. And yeah, it was like, I felt like safer and like more able to just like relax.
Love that. Is there something where you know, as he's been like healing his identity, where you've been like also healing through things about like accepting your femininity or like upsets to that? Like,
Oh yeah, huge, huge. It's for me, a lot of the healing has been around like realizing that I don't have to be like the man anymore. Like I don't have to like embody the masculine traits of my union, and is as like a way to like protect myself or a way to like defend myself. Like I can be more of like the soft feminine like woman that I am deep down. And it's just been healing a lot of like safety in that, and letting go of like stress and like upset, and just kind of letting myself, I feel like I'm like aging backwards in a lot of ways. Like I feel like I'm getting younger, which is cool.
That's sweet. So is there something to like, you know, couples that are healing through the same thing as you, where, you know, you're in a same-sex union, one person is transgender and healing through that? What would your like advice be for couples moving through that and healing that?
Take it easy. There's no pressure. Like you gotta love it and love it and love it and love yourself, and accept yourself completely for where you're at. However you look, however you feel, you're perfect, you're enough, and you're just, remember, like you're just growing in love. You know, you have this work now, so it's all up from here, baby.
I would echo that, because you don't have to be anywhere you're not ready to be.
Yeah.
Like no one expects, especially if you're exploring your gender identity, no one expects you to like overnight be the cis version of yourself. You know, like nobody expects that, because like that's not your experience.
It's not possible.
That's not like what you've experienced in your life. So like honor your experience, honor the life that you had before you explored yourself, like, because like that's valid too. Like
Yeah,
you honor those experiences, and you know, don't, I guess it's like, don't throw the baby out with the dishwater, the bathwater. It's just like, love yourself, honor your experience, and you know, take one step at a time towards yourself. You don't have to be anywhere overnight. You don't have to suddenly like different things or not have had the experience that you've experienced. Honor that. And you know, just you know, you can go into your truth without throwing yourself away. you know.
Oh, that's a good quote.
That is a
Good.
very good quote. That's bam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, honor yourself as a girl, honor yourself as a boy, honor yourself as expressing your man's traits, honor yourself as expressing your woman's traits. Like,
Mhm.
you're one. Like, it's all okay. Like,
Yeah. Like, yeah, of course you want to like claim yourself and be more yourself, but that was you exploring yourself, and there's no like harm in exploring, even if it was a result of an upset or it was a result of something that you wanted to do in this life. Like, okay, honor that.
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I feel like that's, something that is extremely helpful for anyone who's in the situation. Like I just received a lot from what you said. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Moving on to the very last question I have for you today. And that would be, if you could go back to the very beginning of your journey and give that version of yourself a piece of advice or let them know something, what would you say?
I would tell her that I love her completely unconditionally and she's in for a grand adventure and she's gonna have all of her dreams come true. So don't even worry about it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, similarly, I would just be like, it's gonna be okay, and just take it slow, take it easy. You're gonna get there, because yeah, I just felt like at the time I was like, oh, I just have to have the thing, and I have to do the thing, and I could tell myself like, like you're doing great, you're doing the thing, don't worry about it,
Yeah.
just take it one step at a time, and you'll get there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's all the time we have for today. This literally flew by. It felt for me like 20 minutes or so, but we've already been an hour.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys very much for being here today. This was really a pleasure to hear more about your story and also all the beautiful spiritual insights you shared today. And yeah.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I'm glad to hear that. Also, for all of our listeners, if you desire to hear Twin Flame separation for good and come into your union, then I invite you all to head over to twinflamesuniverse.com, where we also have an absolutely amazing free introduction course that I can highly recommend. You can find that on the website and sign up for that over there. And we will be back next week with a new episode. And thank you for listening. And I wish all of you many blessings on your Harmonious Twin Flame Union.